Welcome to Enlivening Musings with Crystal and Katie. We're so excited to be here. This is our first episode. It's going to be super fun. We're just going to explain to you a little bit what all of this is about and who we are. So I'm Crystal. I've been a body worker for just over 20 years. And now I do all kinds of other fun stuff that I'll tell you all about.
And my name's Katie. I'm a physical therapist for about the same amount of years, not quite 20 years, but pretty close.
Awesome. So what is Enlivening Musings? So enlivening is just like everything that really makes you feel like lit up. Like you're just like, I'm alive, it's feeling great. I mean, it doesn't always have to feel great, but that's what being enlivened is. So we're going to touch upon a lot of different topics that really can help facilitate that sensation and being able to like help you find ways to like feel that in your own life. And musings is just kind of like sprinkling little seeds of creativity out there, because that's kind of what it is to be a muse. When you're just musing about, it's just that. And so some of the stuff we'll talk about will be like really serious and can get really intense, and yet, you know, just kind of take what serves you and any of that. We're not here to tell you how it is. We're just here to muse around.
Yeah, just to muse.
I love it. Yay. So let me tell you a little bit more about me. I am Crystal Franco, and I have two main branches that I really focus on right now. So again, like I've been a body worker for a bajillion times, and I have all of these different things that I do. It's kind of like this whole jack of all trades, master of none, but I feel like I'm the master of them all. But it's because they all merge together. But my two main ones are the fact that I help empathetic women cut daily self-sabotage to live their life fully, which ties right into that living really enlivened. And then I'm a pleasure fairy, which means I'm going to help people utilizing psychosexual embodiment practices with sensuality, sexuality, relationships, intimacy, being connected to their body, loving themselves, all of that kind of awesome. So those are my main jams. And as you get to know me more, you'll see that I'm a trained aromatherapist, and I talk about Ayurveda a lot, and I'm a postpartum doula.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's actually how I met Katie.
That's how we met. With my last child, so I have 3 children. And in my last pregnancy, I had heard on a podcast myself actually about postpartum doulas. So I searched our local area and found Crystal, and that will probably be a whole podcast, is just the benefits of support during the postpartum time. And it was obviously life-changing for me, because look where I'm at now, and we have this great friendship that formed because of it, and it was such a wonderful experience. So, but yeah, my name's Katie Bradshaw. I'm a physical therapist. I have my own private practice now, and I focus a lot on using what is known as John Barnes myofascial release, which is a specific type of myofascial release that really get into addressing not only the physical body with the techniques, but it's really strong into the emotional and spiritual aspects of the person. And you'll hear us talk a lot about that in future episodes. So that's what I like to do, and that's kind of how we really connect, is a lot of those similarities. So we love to just talk about all those things. And I do a lot of work with women. I do have some specialized training in pelvic floor therapy, which has opened a whole new world for me.
It is so needed.
And so needed. And again, we'll talk about kind of my own journey with that on some other episodes. Gonna have 3 kids, 16, almost 5 and 18 months. So the whole spectrum here, you'll hear us talk about all the parts of motherhood. And I also use pelvic hydrotherapy in my practice, which is also known as vaginal steaming. So we can also talk about that and the benefits, and how I love to use it in my practice for holistic healing of not only the pelvic area, but the whole person. So that's a little bit about me.
I love it. Everything that you do. And I didn't even say that I'm a mom.
Yes.
But yes, I'm also a mom. So there's all kinds of different things and stuff and tied in with that. And I'm a business owner and all of those things. So there's there's so much juice that we always have to talk about. Like,
Yes.
you put us down together and it's just like, blah, 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 blah. Because there's just so much, and it's just so cool. So I hope you all really enjoy everything that we're going to share with you.
Yes.
Right now it is spring here, and I just think that that's super fun and cool, and we're in this place of really just like stepping into newness. So here we are with like a new podcast, and we're stepping into all this other newness. And another fun thing about me is that I just love like the magic of life. And so I was telling her earlier as well that as I was getting ready for this, there were crows cawing outside of my window, and I was just like, oh, that is so perfect. Like, here it is. It's like, just like belting its voice out. And I'm like, and I'm starting this podcast today. And I'm like going to be doing that. I'm going to be sharing my voice out there in this whole new way. And that was really cool. And then I heard the geese, and the geese have to do with like writing, and crows also have to do with the magic of life. And I'm just like, I love that. And so that is something I love to like bring to the table, is like that connection with nature, as well as just like the magic of life and all of those synchronicities. So, you know, we're here and it's spring, and some stuff is kind of starting to bloom.
Yes.
We were talking about some of that earlier too, like the different flowers coming up. I've got the tulips.
Yes, which I love. I've had a few of my lilies. I was just trying to clean up my flower bed today, and there's just like a few little things starting to grow, and yeah, it's just so symbolic of spring. And all of us just being able to get outside more now too. In our climate, we live in a very harsh climate up here, the northern part of the States, and it does feel so good and so like revitalizing to have that warm weather coming back. It's like this renewed sense of hope, kind of.
Yeah, which I think is what this time is all about, right?
Yeah.
And one thing when we were talking earlier, just kind of getting things set up and stuff, you were talking about time and how like it's like, you know, when we were talking about like resiliency and like spring and like this newness, and how we've had a crazy year, right? Like it's been like COVID land forever. And so like, how are people faring, and how are we like being resilient throughout this whole duration of time? And so Katie was talking about how there was time coming up.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. So over this past year, I've really taken a lot of time, like most of us, to like learn about ourselves, or maybe learn some new skills, as some of us, not all of us, some of us have been working more than ever, but having maybe some more downtime. And so I started kind of delving into herbalism, which I forgot to mention, kind of a budding herbalist, which is something I always said I wouldn't do. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because I already have all these things. But anytime I want something to happen, I should just say I don't want to do it. Because I also said I would never want to own my own practice. No way. Multiple times.
I would never marry a Capricorn.
And like, here I am doing all these things I wouldn't say I would do. So it's kind of funny. But as I was taking this herbalism class, which was amazing, hopefully we can have her on sometime, my teacher. But, you know, she was all about like, go look outside and see what's around. And which is interesting, even in our harsh climate, out in my garden, there's my thyme, just still growing. And it's just so interesting to me. I'm like, okay, so what does time have to teach us? Like, why is it still growing through this harsh climate? It obviously is meant for us to use, whether spiritually we're going to connect with the plant, or maybe we need to eat it during this time. Maybe we need to steep it in a tea. So I'm just like super interested in that, like that. And it survives almost the entire winter. I think maybe towards the end it kind of died off, but I mean, it's still alive. The plant is there and it will come back, but it's just a little dried up now. So it's really interesting.
Right.
I'm so curious about it.
I just think all of that, like all of the plants that it's more like they're going dormant, you know? So like my strawberries and my raspberries, they go dormant and then they come back, and my strawberries are already green and like yay. So you know, it's really cool to see that, and like you see how it's like our own cycles and our own rhythms, which we're going to talk a lot about, especially because we are going to talk a lot about like women's health and being, our existence on the planet and what that looks like. And it can be so cyclical. and all of those types of things. And so it's just really neat to kind of connect with all of that, and with ourselves. Like, that's going to be a huge theme, is about like really connecting with ourselves, with our own voice and our own essence.
Yes. I like to talk about that a lot too, is just being able to just find that time to just quiet down so we can hear our own voice. Because I feel like there's always like so much coming at us now in like the digital age. I often like to think like, well, why do I even have that idea? Why am I even wearing these clothes? Why am I using this notebook? Why did I decide to buy that water bottle? You know, what told me to do all those things? It's so interesting. And, you know, I just don't know if we take enough time to really find that inner voice and what we really want. And maybe my inner voice really did want a water bottle that had pink and purple, you know, or maybe, you know, so I just think it's really interesting and so important for us to be able to take that time to like find that inner voice and connect in, because it's so wise. It's like the wisest thing.
Well, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the more you are living from that place, you know, like I think about that, like talking about your water bottle, such a fun experience. It's like, I really try to only buy things that I'm like, yes, you know what I mean? About like, I don't really want to like get things like, it's just like, ooh, I feel this, I want this, I like know that. And the more you can practice really connecting with you, and that makes you feel really alive, because you're in that connection with yourself. You know, and you know your own essence, and you know yourself, and so you can live from that with so much more ease, you know.
I love that.
But how do we get there? And I think that the quote we were talking about earlier is a great little like way of how do we get there. So I'd love it if you would share that.
Yeah, so I heard this quote this morning when I was listening to another podcast, because I love listening to podcasts. And it's from someone by the name of Viktor Frankl. And it says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our power to choose. And in our choice lies our growth and our freedom. And when I was kind of writing that down, and underneath I just wrote the power of the pause. And I feel like it's just like I was saying the other day, like the pause is what lets me know it's like whatever you want to call it. Sometimes I say spirit or my own essence. When I pause and then make a choice to speak or act, then I know it's really coming from me. It's not just that reaction. It's like, okay, no, this is in line with what I really want. So I thought that was such a beautiful quote.
And I think it's a great tool to like bring that pause in. Like the quote for me, when I hear it, it instantly makes me think about just like how much I talk about choice. Like you get to choose. Like you can choose if you're going to get so crazy upset right now. You can have your feelings and still choose to respond and react differently, right?
Yes.
And your feelings are important. Don't go bypassing them, all right? However, it's like, I'll talk about that and people are always just like, but how do I make this choice? And I think that concept, you know, you talk about it as the pause, and I talk about it a lot as like breathing into slowness and slowing things down. And so like something happens and you take a breath and you just try to like slow it all down, just even feeling it in your own body. Like here we are, and it's like all this energy and all this excitement and all this stuff, right? And it's like, whoa, if I just breathe for a minute and I just like slow my own energy down, then it's like, okay, and we can like be with that and have that. And it's the same, like choosing to pause is like the same thing.
I love that. Yeah, that connection to slowing down. I heard someone recently talk too about how, you know, and it really connects back to what you teach, but when we slow down, we become much more sensual. And I don't want to confuse that with like sexual, but like sensual we get in our bodies. You know, when we move really slow, and even just think of how that feels if you're like, like running around the house, like guilty of that a lot. And you're just like doing all the things and like yelling at your kids and telling your husband to do something. But if you like would just take the moment and like move really slow, it's so interesting now how it changes how everyone reacts around you.
Right. Yeah. We have that
So
power.
crazy,
Like
yeah.
the more it literally is kind of like that butterfly effect where it's not just like the choice of like, oh, I got on this train instead of this train. It's like the choice of like your own frequency, of your own vibration, of your own whatever it is, and how that has a ripple effect in the world. Because when you're choosing certain things for yourself, you're choosing to be more in your body, you're choosing to be more sensual, you're choosing more pleasure. That bleeds into your relationship, it bleeds into your parenting, it bleeds into all of these things, and that then has even further of an effect, because now how is your partner showing up at work and in their life? And how are your kids developing and evolving? And like, it's just huge. So it does really come back to us and our impact on the world within like making our own choices and like.
Yeah, because that's all we can do.
Right.
We can't control anyone as much as we may want to sometimes. It's so true. That's what I tell a lot of people, you know. There's so many things we might want to change in the world and all these things, but really, I mean, it's like that cliche thing a lot of people teach you, but it's true. Like if you can't have like control over your own self, how can you expect like the world to change? And it does make a difference for you to be at peace and to have a peaceful home, because it does. It grows. Now that doesn't always need to stop there, but I mean, what a great place to start the practice is within yourself and your family, you know.
Yeah.
They're like your greatest spiritual teachers.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yes.
Are the ones closest to you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I hope that you all liked our intro here, getting to know us a little bit more and what all of our enlivening musings are going to be about. And, you know, if you have a big takeaway or a big aha, put it in the comments. If you have like a topic or anything that you want us to address, go for it. We're going to do our best to pick a time to go live the first Saturday instead of doing a recording for the first Saturday. So subscribe and then you'll be alerted to when we're going live, and that would be awesome as well. And if you're just hearing this on a podcasting area, check us out. More. Tell your friends. We love you. Awesome. Enjoy spring if you're hearing this in real time.
Yes.